guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Exploring Passive House Design 90% Energy Savings. This is from a channel called Undecided with Matt Farrell. So I've heard of like passive house, design. I believe obviously it's a German thing. I do not know what it entails. I guess we'll find out. So let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe.
This episode is brought to you by the Cooper Foundation. What if I told you that it's possible to build a house that uses up to 90% less energy than your current house? And combining that with solar panels, you could heat, cool, and even charge an EV for just a few $100s a year. Let's take a closer look and explore passive houses. I'm Matt Farrell. Welcome to Undecided. Teslas and electric vehicles, solar and wind production, and energy storage like Powerwalls and Megapacks tend to get all of the attention when we talk about ways to combat climate change. But it's going to take a wide array of solutions to make a real dent. And one of those that doesn't get talked about enough is how we build our homes to make them as energy efficient as possible. In 1996, the Passive House Institute in Darmstadt, Germany, set building standards to create low energy consumption houses that still provide comfort at an affordable price. Now, this demanding, performance-based...
So it's like 30 years old at this point, around 30 years old?
Energy-efficient construction standard provides heating and cooling savings of up to 90% compared to conventional homes and over 75% in relation to average new buildings.
Oh.
That's a pretty big gap, which raises the question of how.
Sounds like
now, passive houses rely on 5 main principles. The first one is a highly insulated envelope. Quality insulation is fundamental to achieving great performance of a passive house design. Multiple layers of high-efficiency insulation materials are used to cover every surface from not just the roof and walls, but the slab and footing as well. The only exception is obviously...
Yeah, I guess because it's well insulated, so you don't really need to use that much heat, right?
Windows and doors. Now, all of this is to minimize the heat exchange with the outside environment. Yeah. Some examples of these layers are Rigid-Air boards, oriented strand board, taped sheathing, air barrier tape, and plywood sheathing. Thankfully, several high-performance insulation materials are also environment-friendly, which increases the benefits like sheep's wool and cellulose. The second principle is being thermal bridge free. Now, heat likes to escape to where it's colder, so the heat inside of a building will always try to go outside if it's cooler using the easiest path it can find. These are called thermal bridges. Which
didn't know that, but that explains why things get colder.
Specific areas of a building envelope where the insulation is the lowest value compared to the other areas, forming cold spots in the...
I have to go back. What? This is getting into math territory.
Path that can find.
An equation.
These are called thermal bridges, which are specific areas of a building envelope where the insulation is the lowest value compared to the other...
Okay, insulation is the lowest value compared to other areas. Oh, okay, yeah, like where it's not covered.
Areas, forming cold spots in the building.
Yeah.
Now, if these spots become too cold, they could lead to the formation of moisture and condensation. So passive houses are built with the concept of being thermal bridge free.
How do they do that?
A house's studs can act as a thermal bridge. The same for a home's footings or basement slab. So a continuous layer of insulation from the first principle is essential. But one way to make this easier is to also minimize corners, bump outs, cantilevers, and dormers because they create geometric thermal bridges.
Okay, so again,
it doesn't mean you can't have them, but they have to be accounted for.
Yeah.
The third principle is an optimized...
I would assume like a lot of these things are not necessarily about, well, everything's about building, obviously, but you need to find an architect that, knows what they're doing basically, and they know how to build this type of house.
Orientation with high performance windows and doors. Bad orientation combined with low performance windows and doors can cause significant heat gain or loss in a house, depending on the time of year. Now, in passive house buildings, triple pane windows and insulated frames are usually used. Triple glazed windows are composed of 3 panels of glass separated by a spacer. The airtight gaps between the glass are filled with an inert gas, like argon, which is a poor conductor of heat transfer. But even with these high-performance windows and doors, there can be inefficiency if they're not well positioned. That's why homes built using the Passive House standard are optimally designed and placed to harvest natural light and heat coming from the sun.
They have to take into account, like, where's the sun, where does the sun go, where does the sun rises and sets, in the house. So if you have, like, your main door here, then, you have to put windows there. Like, that's crazy.
Surrounding environment into consideration when designing the structure and placement on the land. One reason for this is a technique called passive solar heating, which allows homeowners to collect, absorb, and distribute solar energy right through your windows and doors.
You think about it like, wow, incredible, but this is how it should be, right? Like, it's a resource that is already there, so why shouldn't we use it?
Passive solar heating has to be tightly managed, though, to limit overheating in the summer and maximize heat gain in the winter.
Oh my god, it can overheat?
For instance, to optimize for heat gain, windows that feature a high solar heat gain coefficient are used on the southern side of a house, which means they let more solar heat through, which is ideal for the winter months. And then in the summer months, when the sun is higher in the sky, you have large roof overhangs to keep the sun out. Then on the east and west sides of the home, where the heat of the rising and setting summer sun can't be blocked, you'd use low solar heat gain coefficient windows to keep the heat out. You can also use materials inside the house, like concrete floors, to absorb the heat coming in through the windows during the day. At night, they'll slowly radiate some of that stored heat back out. Also, deciduous trees are beneficial
I wonder what happens during the summer. Wouldn't it get super hot? Well, no, it absorbs the heat, I guess not.
Providing shade on the house in the summer months, but allowing the sun's heat to pass through in the winter when the leaves are gone.
And I have a question. Then great. It sounds incredible. I'm going to put a tree there. But, planting trees takes forever. So am I have to plant ahead? No, I have to, give me a tree that's already planted and it's already, really old so I can, use the shade.
The fourth principle is an airtight envelope. Passive house buildings are designed to minimize the number of holes in their envelope. All leaks around doors, windows, exterior electrical outlets, hose bibs, sill plates, you name it. They're all properly sealed in order to not only stop heat loss, but also to help reduce moisture buildup or loss in cold weather. Reducing cold spots and places where condensation can happen not only provides comfort, but also improves the air quality by eliminating the risk of mold growth.
Oh, important.
But an airtight envelope brings some problems like, fresh air for breathing.
Yeah, you're just
which brings me to the last principle. Mechanical ventilation. Now, you might think that with an airtight design that people aren't allowed to open doors and windows, but they can.
I mean, this is not of course you can open the windows. It's not, this isn't a dictatorship. You can open the windows in your house.
It's allowed. But when you're trying to maintain comfortable temperatures in a home when the outside temps aren't ideal or in balance, that's when you have to rely on mechanical ventilation systems like heat recovery ventilators, which are HRVs, or energy recovery ventilators, ERVs. Now, these silent, efficient devices can provide continuous, filtered, fresh air to the entire house while pushing the stale air out. HRVs...
I get it on principle, but I still feel like you need to open the window every now and then.
ERVs transfer heat in order to achieve maximum efficiency.
And not even now and then. Open it at least once a day, maybe.
And healthy inside air quality. But only ERVs transfer moisture as well as heat. Now, this explains why ERVs are usually preferred in areas with high humidity and wide temperature ranges. In winters, the system uses the warm, stale air that's exhausted from the inside to preheat the incoming fresh air.
Oh.
Humidity can be added to the incoming air, which is great in the wintertime. And I don't know about you, but the older I get, the drier I seem to be.
Well, but it depends because maybe in Germany, the winters are just not very, they're not very humid. But some places they have during the winter, it gets more humid. So it's always technically cold and wet.
Getting with each winter, I could really use an ERV right now. In summers, the system conditions incoming warm, humid air by passing it over coils or channels containing...
Exactly, and this as well, sometimes the summers, they're very dry, so I think it just depends on the kind of weather you have and what your summers or winters are like.
Cool air being exhausted out of the house. Desiccants are used to take humidity away from the fresh air coming in, which is good for a cooling effect. Depending on a passive house construction and the local climate, a dedicated heating and cooling system may not be necessary, because the internal gains from the sun, cooking, and people just living inside the house.
Oh, it's enough?
To get a good idea of how that might be possible, just take a look at the difference in heating energy required between a passive house and a typical house. A Northern European passive house needs just 15 kilowatt hours of heating energy per square meter of floor space per year.
15 hours?
A modern house would require 150 kilowatt hours. And a leaky house, which a lot of people live in, would need about 300 kilowatt hours.
Oh my god, it's
kind of a big difference.
5 times?
Passive houses can't be compared to other certifications like LEED and BREEAM green building certification programs, which is something that I actually covered in a recent video. Passive House is just a performance-based energy efficiency design standard. The Passive House Institute accredits this certification, and within the Passive House standard, there are certifications for the house components, such as the building envelope, transparent components like doors and windows, and ventilation systems.
Every single thing.
Also, not all buildings can be refurbished to the Passive House standard, so the EnerPhit certification is used.
Yeah, of course, if you already built the building or the house, it's what can I do with it? Yeah, of course, it's impossible to let's demolish this and build a new one.
For retrofits to verify the consistent employment of
there
passive
are
house
certain
components.
things you can do, I guess.
The targets for an interfit house for the space heat demand and the space cooling demand is less than 25 kilowatt hours per square meter per year.
I think
it's not as good as a
right?
purpose-built passive house, but it's still dramatically better than a typical home.
Much
but is
better.
the cost to achieve all these benefits worth it?
I would say
Before
yes.
I get to that, though, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, the Cooper Foundation. They're a nonprofit organization that's raising money to help children and young adults with special needs to get the help that they need. Craig and Christine Cooper, who are friends of the channel, started the foundation because they have a daughter with autism. She's a loving child that's mostly nonverbal and needs supervision most of the time. So they know how families could use a little helping hand. Over 85% of the donations go directly to helping kids with everything from summer camps to devices and equipment for helping with everyday living. The Cooper Foundation is always looking for real-world solutions that can make a meaningful difference. Like right now, they're raising money for an ADA-compliant playground for special needs children in Brook Park, Ohio. If you'd like to learn more, go to thecoopfoundation.com, and link is also in the description. Thanks again to the Cooper Foundation and to all of you for supporting the channel. Now, according to the Passive House Institute, a passive home costs about 5 to 10% more than a conventional house, but others estimate costs varying from 7 to 15%. Usually, as the size of the building increases, the cost difference to a typical house decreases.
Of course.
A study performed by the Passive House Trust in the UK analyzed the building costs of several passive house buildings, considering different construction methods and forms. The projects made in 2018 ranged from £1,296 per square meter to £807 per square meter, and the major extra cost for the construction was related to wall and roof structures.
It's more
However,
expensive
the cost
than
for
the
each
others.
project can vary depending on the size, complexity of the design,
Like so
the
many
level of
things.
finishes and materials, the builder that's contracted to lead the project, and other factors that can affect the building cost.
Yeah, of
Now,
course.
Passipedia, which is a great resource for passive houses, shows a study of conventional 149 square meter single family houses compared to a standard house over 30 years. In 2010, the additional investment added up to about 15,000 euros, or 8% extra, while in 2015, the total extra cost was reduced to 10,000 euros, or 5% extra. The calculated energy savings for heating over 30 years was 822 euros, with an annual
year?
additional cost of electricity for the ventilation system of 71 euros. In the end, the homes cut 432 euros in annual cost. As good as all of that is, there's still improvements to be made in technique.
Yeah, I don't know, like, what is it worth it? I thought it was going to be more. I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest. I mean, just monetarily speaking, obviously not, financially speaking. I don't know, like, there are there benefits, of course.
Components from
I
small
don't
to
know.
large. And a good example of that is SwissSpacer from Switzerland. They have a warm edge spacer that uses one spacer bar for all 3 panes in a window, providing lower weight, less risk of gas losses, as well as a long service life. Another example is straw panels by the Slovakian company EcoCocoon. This wall system is made up of 98% natural materials, such as fiber layer and straw, and it can prevent heat loss, excess humidity,
And
avoid
wouldn't it
thermal
be
bridges,
cheaper than the others?
provides healthy indoor air
Maybe not.
quality,
Maybe
and
it's the
building
opposite.
flexibility due to its custom-made dimensions. And when you
It's
think of
custom, I
straw
don't know.
and fire, you might be a little concerned, but because of their
No.
composition, they can actually resist fire for 120 minutes.
Oh my god, I can really
Passive
test
houses
that.
have several advantages such as comfort, money savings, healthy
I hadn't even thought of that. It's like, yeah, sure, it sounds great. I hadn't even thought of a fire.
indoor air, reduced energy bills, and long-lasting quality. Since the first passive house was constructed in 1991, which is still running by the way, there are more than
Great.
25,000 certified passive houses as of January 2020. Today, many countries and some states here in the US provide grants and tax breaks for homeowners
Oh,
that install
really?
energy-saving materials in their houses.
Well, that's amazing.
There are also low interest rate loans in many areas to cover high efficiency projects just like these.
Really?
And while the focus on clean energy generation like solar, wind, and energy storage is where a lot of the focus should be for combating
Yeah,
climate
of
change,
course.
we shouldn't forget about the energy conservation side. Things like passive houses can not only make a huge dent in our energy requirements, they can save us a lot of money in the long run too. And you don't have to
Yes,
do
of
every
course.
single component of a passive home to make a difference.
You can make
If
a
you
few
combine
changes.
some passive house techniques with solar panel installations on your home, it's possible to achieve a net zero pretty easily, which is generating as much or more energy than you use. One family in Massachusetts did just that with an Oxford Maine-built modular home from Bright Built Home,
Oh my god,
including
the house
heating,
is built.
cooling, hot water, and charging a Chevy Bolt. They pay a little over $400 a year for energy use.
That's insane. That's
I don't know
way
about
too
you,
little.
but I'd love to build a passive house or a net zero home. What do you think? Jump in the comments and let me know. If you like this video, be sure to check out one of the ones I have linked to right here. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you think I've earned it. And as always, thanks to all of my patrons and to all of you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, that I was thinking like it's the $400 a year. That's crazy. That seems like incredibly cheap. I was, because obviously, again, the financial of it all, it's more expensive and I get it. Like it's more expensive, once you make the investment, which I think is what probably most people were thinking about. And when you're buying a house, well, not buying it, you're building a house, you're probably thinking, of course, I don't really have the money right now to actually do it. Although I guess that eventually there are some things that you could do, and that obviously goes for, if my house is already old, I can't, it's already built. Like I can't just demolish this one and just go, yeah, whatever, I'll just like build a new one. There are certain things that you can do, some remodels, some changes that you could do, which again, I think in theory, like they sound great. However, and of course, they're telling you, hey, it's helping combat climate change. It's going to help you, have better, have less mold, better quality, better air quality. Like there are certain things that I think most people will be like, yeah, sure, sign me up. But then, once they look at the cost compared to, the cost of other similar things, how much does it cost to just build a normal house? People are just like they're probably balking at the price and being like, oh, no, I don't really have the money right now. Because usually, again, when people are like building houses, they probably have like a tight budget, and not tight as in, oh, we're not using the best materials. No, but I think like you probably have, an idea of like, this is how much money we're going to spend because this is how, what we can afford. And it's not like usually they don't give you like that much leeway. You don't really have that much of a, you should definitely have, I think, something to like, you should have like, like a grace period. Like, let's put it that way, because you never know like what stuff can happen. Because you're going to have some setbacks is what I would assume. It's like building a house is a huge process. So I would think, again, you probably need to have like something to, let's leave, like, I don't know, a $20,000 deposit just in case like something goes wrong. You need to have like a bit of a breathing space and breathing room just in case like not everything goes exactly like as your budget planned. But again, it's probably the budget and you're not thinking, well, I can't really afford to spend, I don't know, like $30,000 or $40,000 more than I was expecting to, because again, I literally do not have the money. We can't really afford that in the budget right now. So I think most people, that's, the main thing that would really like make them not do this, because otherwise everything sounds great. I think in comparison to the others, is like, why wouldn't I? I think the best way to actually convince people, I think, of course, if you look at, but it's a big investment that you're doing right now. But, later on, when you're in your life, in the life of the house, basically, it's gonna come out cheaper. So in a way, kind of like it's paying itself, because, if you look at it like this, it's kind of like, well, yeah, I guess it's gonna pay itself. I'm investing a lot right now upfront, but then eventually, throughout the years, like the thing's gonna pay itself. If it is, if you're actually saving like that amount of money, for instance, like energy, like in energy, like, yeah, of course, like most people will be like, of course, sign me up for it. But again, I didn't really know that there are apparently a lot of places, a lot of like cities and I think, I don't know if it was counties or states that give you, they encourage you to do this. So they have like tax deductions, or they give you like a lower, I think it was like lower taxes or something. It's taxes or something. I don't know. They give you incentives, which, yeah, of course. And it's a good way for, I think, for, the cities and, the governments and everything, all the regulatory sort of systems, they encourage you to do this, which is great. I was also thinking, because, yeah, seeing it like this is great. And you should do it because, again, you want to live in a house that's sustainable. You want to, again, have cleaner energy. You want to have cleaner air. You don't want mold in your house. Those are things that I think are just, the advantages are greater. But also, of course, you want to do something good for, the greater good for the environment, for climate change. But I was thinking like the first ones to do this, because obviously the average person, like once you learn about this, you're probably thinking, oh, well, I would love to look into it. And if you're like building a house, or if you already own a house, what kind of things you can do? Like what little remodeling, what little changes you can do to actually improve, how much energy to change your energy production, because that's the thing, right? It should be, how much energy you're actually consuming and how much you're generating. That's supposed to be close to zero, or that number should be, of course, it's like, again, like a budget, basically, like how much money you're earning should be similar to how much money you're spending. You shouldn't, those numbers shouldn't be, of course, like, yeah, you have to take into account savings and all of that. But again, in the great like scheme of things, like you shouldn't be, spending more than what you're earning basically. So in this case, it's kind of similar. Like you should be producing as much energy as you are spending. You shouldn't spend more than you're producing, because that's where the problems come in. And I imagine, like, I don't know, 80% of people do this because, again, you're maybe unaware. I have to admit, it never crossed my mind, but like all of these things, I think I just take it for granted. I just go, yeah, sure, whatever, electricity and just generating power. I don't know, like someone takes care of it. I don't know. I have to admit, it never really crossed my mind how to like make your house more sustainable. I think when it comes to sustainable practices, I think, more than, the usual, just like a solar panel, that's like where my mind goes, where a solar panel, that's it. And you think that you already did enough, which I think it's great. That's already a huge improvement from so many other places and other houses that probably, do not do this. But I didn't know that there's like so many other things that you could do, because again, I just kind of take it for granted. And I assume, I can't be the only one. I assume there's a big part of the population that also thinks like this. It's not like, I don't know, it's solar panels and that's it. Like that's where my mind goes and that's where it ends. And it's like, no, you can do so many other things. And, especially if you are building it, yeah, this is where it should all start. Because it never occurred to me that there are certain sort of architectural and design things that you can do to make it a little bit more sustainable, to make it like self-produce power, or to like spend less energy basically. I didn't know that you could do that through design. So obviously that you would have to hire like an architect that knows what they're doing, and they know all about the passive houses. And because obviously not all architects and all engineers probably, or not all builders they have the knowledge to actually build those things, because it is a newer thing. And I'm happy to report that apparently it is gaining, popularity, and great. That's where we should all be starting. It's increasingly more popular. But I think, again, the experts are probably, they're not that, far and wide. It's like you really do have to look into someone that knows what they're doing, because I assume that even a lot of architects are probably, they're aware of it, but they're not really like, yeah, I know what it is, but I'm not an expert at this. So you would have to like, look for certification maybe, and look for the engineers and architects that are aware of this and they have knowledge. But yeah, you have to start somewhere. But I was also thinking that a lot of the, if someone's building like, I don't know, like a company, it's building, it's developing an area, and they're doing, again, I'm thinking a lot of like suburban homes, or even just like buildings, big buildings. They're the ones that should be, they're the first ones that should be doing something like this, because I think it's probably, wouldn't it be easier, again, if the house that you're already like moving into already has all of these things? Like, wouldn't it be great if you're building your own house? Great, incredible. And you can do, again, as much as you can afford. You can do this. But I was thinking, like, maybe wouldn't it, because a lot of people are not lucky enough to like build their own house. They can just like, no, I don't really have the budget. My only budget is just I have to spend it only on buying a house, and that's it. So wouldn't it be great that the house that you're buying already has all of these things, and it's already a passive house? So I think that they should probably be like lobbying to, I don't know, all the modern like developers, all the construction companies that are building like houses and they're building buildings. They're the ones that they should be like doing all these changes. And of course, again, all the governments and all of that in the whole on like city halls and all the stuff that is like that it belongs to the government, all those buildings, like they should also be, again, not demolish them probably, but they're the ones that also should be leading the change. And yes, where, give the example by, again, doing some changes, making some, using different materials and just doing some remodeling for them to, again, lead the charge, which again is like be the change that you want to see. But I think it's great, and hopefully more people like this catches up to people and becomes more popular, because I think it would be great, obviously not just in Germany, all throughout Europe and the United States and basically all over the world. But that's it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.